For those of you who don't know me, I'm Samantha Morales. For those of you who do, hi again. I'm just going to tell you a little bit about my life today. And it may not seem like much to you, but it's made all the difference for me. Now, it all started when I was a kid. Of course, I'm still young, so let's make the best of this. Anyway, it all started when I was a kid, around the age of 9, actually, and that's when we first moved out to the Midwest. No big deal, except it was a sign of freedom moving away from my abusive father. And he caused a lot of trauma, and in which I'm irrationally afraid of them. I know, it may not seem true, but I can't even talk to a guy without feeling afraid. And I think that's one of the worst things, is the fact that knowing I struggle applying for jobs, knowing that the boss is a male, or asking for help in school because of my male teacher. And while they have not done anything to me, because of my past, it makes it extremely hard for me to talk to dudes. Anyway, after 10 years old, I end up in foster care, and I know, very sore subject, but it's one that's very important in my life and I still go through today. And then I eventually come home before my 11th birthday. And then, 3 years later, a week after my 14th birthday, I end up in foster care again. Now, notice I skipped 8 years and then 3 years of my life. And that's because those 11 years weren't really interesting. It was filled with trauma and difficulties and lots of family issues. And in fact, it was so hard to deal with that the only true memories I can recollect were from foster care or traumatic situations, like being homeless, doing without things, being in homeless shelters, things like that. And switching from schools, there's so many. And going through St. Francis at the age of 14, newly 14 if I add, having to stay respite in like a bunch of weird places just because St. Francis doesn't have a place for you. Now you're probably thinking, oh, well, why is that such a big issue? Well, what I was thinking at the time was, oh, well, I mean, they don't even have a place for us to go, so why didn't they just leave us in my mom's house? You'd think that would be common sense logic, but for some reason, they don't think it's a smart idea, even though they didn't have a place for us to go. My sibling and I, that is. And then it came to the point where we end up in a girl's home, and then I end up moving with my sister to this town called Lyons. And for some odd reason, you'd never even hear of it. And let alone, some of you may not even know how to spell it. It's so weird because it's named after like an Englishman or something. And so we live with this one family, and then their marriage falls through. And then after, I end up living with my 8th grade science teacher. I know what, she was cool at first. But then things went downhill really fast because, I guess I should explain. She took me in because she saw herself in me. And when I couldn't conform to everything she would have done as a 14, 15, or 16-year-old kid, I think what really upset her is the fact that when I didn't conform, I guess I changed and I started hating her, and vice versa as well. And when she noticed I couldn't be forced into doing anything because I was just as stubborn, she just decided that yelling and, having screaming battles or sitting me down and talking to me would help. And I think because of my trauma, I couldn't easily be persuaded into thinking of this great life and in which that everything would be wonderful and fantastic. And while it was difficult, eventually there was a night that led down to a screaming match, and then we separated and moved our separate ways. You know, and it doesn't sound like a big issue, and it may not be to you, but I know several times where I have nightmares sometimes just thinking of, I can't believe that happened. And still to this day, I still freak out, waking up from a nightmare like, oh my gosh, what happened? And it was simply that, a nightmare that never happened. And this may just be rambling, but it all ties into one thing. In St. Francis Foster Care, DECA, wherever you may be, even DYFS, DCF, there's only one thing that they tell you. The do's and don'ts. Do go to high school, but we don't care if you drop out. Do make sure you still go to school, but we really don't care if you miss school, as long as you end up going. And we do care that you don't see your parents, even if they didn't have a reason to, be exiled out of your life. But don't associate with them, don't talk to them, don't acknowledge their existence. And while we may try to reintegrate you at home, just don't get your hopes up. Because no matter what, it's never going to be positive for you. And while this may not be entirely accurate to some, I know lots of my foster care friends who feel the exact same way. And for the longest time, I always thought, why do they hate us so much? Why can't we be loved like everyone else? And I came to this realization. They want us to be pessimistic. Like, don't get your hopes up. And even social workers would tell you that. I've had social workers who told me they were only in it for the money. That's not the best way to get your, kids on your caseload to feel good about you. And that only shows more that they don't care. And it's not directed specifically towards caseworkers. It's St. Francis and knowing that I'm not heard. And so you may want to leave this video and get off of it and just be like, oh, she's so retarded. And that's absolutely fine. I wasn't here for you specifically. I'm just doing this because I want to be heard. Because the only advocator I have for myself is me. No one else, not my guardian ad litem, not my special advocates, not even my caseworker. Because without me, there are no advocates. No one will be there to voice my own opinion. And I think that's what makes the difference. And knowing that while the system wants me to be pessimistic about everything and not get my hopes up, I'll continue to get my hopes up. I'll continue to let my hopes soar through the sky. Just rocket right through the roof. And I'll let that happen mostly because I am going to do something great for this world. And I just know it. Like, I have that deep feeling in my soul. And when I get older, I want to go to college, and I want to be a social worker, and I want to do things with my life so I can help other kids. Because kids are the growing generation. They're going to raise the next generation. And in fact, we as this generation, we're going to help take care of the older generation that's already passed. Produce the kids that will eventually raise you. And in my terms, I want to be one of the many people who want to help the kids who are younger than me when I'm a social worker. And I want to help all of the teenagers and the toddlers and any age variety of kids. And I want to help them and guide them to be the best human beings they can be as well. And it's mostly because generations change, as well as everywhere for that matter. And it all starts with one little thing. It's my philosophy. It starts with one thing. One little mediocre, just one small iota of a thing. And then it turns into two small things, and then it multiplies. And the numbers crunch and it becomes a larger thing. And then what you have is, it's kind of like a shift, like a change in the way that the world works. And I want to be one of the people who can be that one little thing. Because in the world of nearly 8 million people, I'm one person. And in the way that when I get older, as a social worker, will help a bunch of other one small things, then we can all come together. And then we can become a bunch of small things. And then this group that I help and other foster workers help, other agencies help, we can all come together and from this one little thing become this one big thing and help shift the world into a more positive outlook on how St. Francis works and how being optimistic can change. And while it may not be much to you, it means the world to me. Thank you for listening to my story. If you have any comments, concerns, if you have any questions about St. Francis and what it's like, St. Francis, DECA, DCF, DYFS, let me know. Just comment down below and I will respond as best as I can with the most intent knowledge and updated articles. And once again, my name is Samantha Morales, and I'll be posting another one here soon. Thanks for watching. Like I said, if you have comments, put them down below. I can get a link for you if you want one. But like I said, my Snapchat, Saints16832, my Instagram, Saints1944. Thanks again. Goodbye.